Welcome back to Matriarch Alchemy. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Allie.
How are you doing? It's
I'm
100 degrees.
good. Oh my gosh, I know. I'm ready for some like rain or snow. I don't even care anymore.
Well, we wanted to talk today because Allie's and her friends were talking about toxic mothers, parents, people,
Hmm.
in ways we can be more prepared or how to handle that and not take that personally. So we've all been there. We go to a parent for validation or an apology and get blame shifting, guilt tripping, and a confusing runaround, right? What happens next, right? That's how you know.
Yeah.
How does that leave them all feeling when that happens?
I think it leaves everybody feeling defeated. It's like you have this parental, I'm just sticking with parental figures, but the parental figures that you were supposed to look up to and ask those questions, or you should have that relationship with, when they close those doors down and make you feel bad, it's like, oh, I don't have someone to look up to or somebody that I can go and ask those questions that I need, or, you know, my support system of women. Like it's hard.
Yeah, it really is. And I grew up like that, where I didn't feel like I had that relationship with my mother. I didn't have anyone that I was really comfortable sitting and talking with. And I learned to just start doing everything on my own. Became hyper independent, and it made me a people pleaser for a while because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get the normal motherly reaction, the kind, loving help, the conversations out of this person. So you
Yeah.
have to realize like you're dealing with someone that they're never going to acknowledge their faults or put in any personal work. So they're not going to apologize unless it's insincere, which so that's when it's veiled. So it's going to be things like, you just expect me to be perfect. Sorry. So
Yeah.
or it quickly turns into blame shifting. So, well, this only happened because you did that or XYZ, and I think it's good for us to have a good tool belt of how we're going to handle that kind of stuff in advance so we can learn
Hmm.
not to be reactive and we can balance our own nervous systems. Did you
Yeah.
have any questions?
I mean, I was also just thinking when you were talking that it also turns into like young parentification for a lot of women too.
Yeah.
So it's like that constant validation that you're seeking from, especially like a mother figure. So you're like, okay, I guess I need to be doing more to get her attention or to get their attention in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard because maybe me, I didn't know what to say when someone says like, "Oh, I've tried talking to my mom. Like, hey, the things you're doing, XYZ, have made me feel this way, and I just want you to be aware of that because it's hurting my relationship." And getting the, "Oh, well, I just am not good enough for you, or you've done X, Y, and Z, that's why." And it's like I just don't know how to, one, help my friends if they do have
Mm-hmm.
those situations, or like I just don't have the right thing to say.
Yeah, and I have some advice for that I think I can see now coming out. I was trying to think about what would I needed when I was in that time, and I was in that space. What would have helped me? And I would say there's a twofold thing. If this is a person that's still in high school, like say you're still trapped with this person, you can't get out. I think that's a slightly different situation, but you have to learn to be quiet a little bit and become unreactive. You got to focus on your education. You got to make your plans and save money and figure out how you're going to get out.
Yeah.
Like that, you have to regulate your nervous system and staying very non-reactive to them because that perpetuates the cycle. But so for older adult women, especially if you don't live with them anymore, I mean, the first thing you have to do is like get out and get away. You have to
Yeah.
take a break. And that means walking away, hanging up in situations where you're being berated and they're just incessantly not listening to you. You can't let the loop just keep going around because what that's doing is giving that person their dopamine hit that's what they want. They're
Right.
expecting that from that argument, especially if you have a narcissistic parent.
And especially
So,
like girls that I know my age, it's like you have to
yeah.
uphold those boundaries. And maybe, I don't know if this is a generational thing that might be interesting to talk about, but it's like the girls that I know who've tried to have these conversations with their mom specifically,
Mm-hmm.
they have a hard time, one, setting a boundary because it's their mom. Like, what are you going to do if you don't have your mom? But also, two, is like your generation of moms who are not willing to accept the problems, um, and not willing to change, and also just wanting to stay stuck in their ways. That's like, it's this just constant back and forth where no one wants to uphold their own boundaries for each other. I mean, even moms, I'm sure, can't
Yeah, it's a rough
aren't.
cycle.
So it's like,
No, you're right.
I'm
So I would say one of the first steps is accepting that your parent is that way and realize that it's not your responsibility to change them.
mm-hmm.
And that's hard. It's sad. It could be like grieving. You're going to grieve. I don't have the mother I deserve. I don't have the support I deserve. And that's hard. However, you can build yourself up and find ways to do that. Like, obviously, I feel like I became a pretty good mom and I figured out a lot of things on my own. Like, I'm very different. I parent very differently,
Yeah, I also think
So,
you're good at susceptible, or you're open to accepting if I were to say come to you about something, like, hey, I didn't like the way that you said this or did this, because it made me feel a certain way, or
yeah,
X, Y, and Z. You've always been like, okay, I will work on it. And I think that's a great thing, is even if you hear that, it's like, I just want to see that you try to work on those things. You
people
don't need
just
to be
want to feel
perfect.
validated, right? You want
Yeah.
that validation that someone heard you and they're going to make an effort and they care about you enough to want to make the effort.
Yeah.
Now, we're not always going to get that reaction from an emotionally immature person.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these type of parents, we're just going to say toxic because we can't label everyone that we don't know as narcissistic or whatever their personal issues are, right? But
Right.
a lot of that terminology comes from a person that refuses to look at their faults. They don't want to change, as you're saying. It's not so much they want to stay stuck in their ways, but change would require something from them. It would require them acknowledging those things, feeling those feelings, admitting they did something wrong, admitting they need growth. And they're not, quite often, that's never going to happen. It's
Yeah.
very possible that will never happen. But you have to accept it. Accept that this is who this person is, and it's not your responsibility to parent your parent. So now, what you're going to work on yourself, your nervous system, and not responding. You're going to not feed them when they need that. And it's really hard when you want to go for support and then you get blamed. And I get that. And part of that might mean you need to find someone else to go to for advice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be one respected woman in your circle. If you're one
Yeah.
of Allie's friends, you can call me. I'll talk to you.
Or I just go and ask my mom. It's always been that way. That's been the
You can also
funniest
talk
part.
to Allie. She's pretty good. Yeah, I
Well,
mean, you just have to stop trying to fix them. Like, that's still part of people pleasing. Like, you have to let them suffer the consequences of their behavior, which might mean losing some access to you.
but it's like, upholding those boundaries that you have in place. It's like, hey, if you bring up this thing while we're on the phone, I'm not going to continue a conversation with you. But then
Yeah,
upholding that, where if they do bring it up, you are just going, okay, I'll
hang
talk
up.
to you later. Like,
Or just,
you need to uphold those boundaries. And that's what I feel like I struggle to see, is people upholding boundaries that they have put into place. So then no longer are they actually a boundary that, you know, you ask them to do something, whether it's an email, a text, a letter, or in person, and you lay that boundary, you have to uphold it with people who may be
Yeah.
toxic parents. Like, that's what I
Oh,
struggle with as a
definitely.
friend. Is I'm like, sometimes I just hear my friends and I'm like, I told you to stop doing.
And sometimes it's a practice. Sometimes it takes a few times before you can do
Yeah.
it. Like it's really about being brave and being strong and doing the things that you know you need to do. But sometimes that's the only way things change. You may have a really great story where it changes because you actually were strong and held up a boundary to your mother. And guess what? She doesn't want to lose full access to you and her future grandchildren. So maybe she lays off.
Yeah.
Maybe she starts to think about it. And you also have to realize these aren't going to be a 1 day conversation thing. It may take them 2 months to digest what you said and think about it. And
Yeah.
maybe you take longer breaks from talking to each other. Like maybe you're like, you know what? I need a month or two of not speaking to you. I'll think about it. That's
I also
totally a valid, okay way to handle it.
I also had a friend who was going through this, and she decided that she would never tell her mom anything bad that was going on in her life, because they use that as like ammunition for like,
Mm-hmm.
oh well, that's all going bad because you just aren't working hard enough, or you just don't make enough money. So it's like, okay, I'm not telling you anything bad that's going on in my life, even if it's just because I feel like complaining one day about something stupid. It's like,
It's
I'm no
very
longer doing
common.
that. You're only getting
Mm-hmm.
the good parts that I'm excited about, so you have nothing in your ammo for
Uh-huh.
anything. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of women, and especially, like, they do kind of push their insecurities out, because we all love, chit chatting, especially with our girls or our mom. It's like, we're just venting,
Yeah.
but then it does get turned around onto you. That's like, oh well, you're always complaining about this. It's like, I was just trying to vent, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I know many adults that don't tell their parents hardly anything about their lives. They
I
say,
feel like
"Hi,
it's
how are you
sad
doing? Oh, I've been
sometimes to
working a
me.
lot. I'm doing this." But also, I know people my age. They're like, "Oh, they never tell me anything," and I was like, "Wonder why."
Hmm. I feel like that sounds like a
Do
different
you do
issue.
something you shouldn't? Do you flip it on them? No, because I mean, it's not like some kids are just personal. Sometimes it's the way that you react, the way you fly off the handle, the way you shame them, that they're not interested in your advice, or you don't need to know if something bad happened to them, or they got in a car accident and then they're dealing with insurance. They don't want to tell you because they don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
And that's what you get for the type of parent you are. You get the kind of relationship you build. And one of the things that I heard recently that I really love is that you can't parent with distance, as I felt like I had with my mom, but then expect me to be close to you later as an adult in your old age. Now you want me to be close to you when you never gave me that for my 50 years. So you can't expect
Yeah.
that. And I think that's like really valid.
Well, I also feel like a lot of parents seem to think that their kids like owe them something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that, well, I'm your mother. How can you not talk to me anymore? Or I'm your dad. Like, why won't you talk to me? And it's like, I don't owe you a conversation just because you're my parent.
Yeah.
And, I've heard a lot of women say, or older women who are like, "Ah, well, that's stupid. Like, they're your parents." I'm like, well, we're
No.
breaking generational cycles of putting up with horrible parents, or just horrible people in general, because now I'm an adult and parents are still treating their kids like children when they're adults, living adult
Mm-hmm.
lives with full-time jobs, mortgage, buying groceries, going to school. They're doing everything to feel like an adult, and you're still treating them like a child, and that you still expect that they owe you something because what, you birthed them and gave them a roof over their
Or
head.
to answer your phone every single second they call, or to share, where are you? What are you doing? Your adult children don't have to. And it's not, oh, well, what if there was an emergency? What emergency? What is your child going to do? Come put the fire out in your house? No. I mean, if someone passes away in your family, they'll learn about it when they learn about it. It's not like you have to, what are you going to do? Drive to that wherever they are to tell them? Like a lot of times they'd say that, oh, for emergencies. I don't need you to call me if you lost your house key.
What
You don't
happened
need to know
before
where
we
I
had
am.
phones?
You can leave me a voicemail. I mean, there's some respect that's got to be there. And respect is respecting someone's space, not just respecting, oh, you're my parents, so now I have to be at your beck and call. Like, that's
Yeah.
not a thing.
It's
No.
almost like a lot of toxic parents just forget that there's a line where your child will one day become an adult. And at
Yeah.
that point, it's like you did everything that you could to raise them. And sure, you put a roof over their head and made sure they had food. But what did you do to foster relationships that makes them want to stay around you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, I think what recently, around your 50th birthday, somebody was like, oh, it's so nice that your kids still hang out with you when you're 50. And it's like, you foster this relationship to make your kids want to be around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are so many toxic families where people do still stick around, and they just put up with the bullshit for holidays or whatever. But
They're just only seeing their children like once or twice a year. And I'm like, that's all you
maybe
deserve because you don't put any effort in. And if you don't call them the whole rest of the time, you expect them to call you. Like, there's some of that. Like, there's not a two-way relationship. I just think it's interesting that some parents really have a hard time with the separation of the child becoming an adult and having like their own freedoms and realizing they can't put expectations on them. You can't tell them they have to be at your house for a holiday. You can't. You can't expect that. And then you can't throw a guilt trip on them when they're sharing time with the other half of the family. Or they said, you know what, it's our only week off. We're going to take a vacation and we're going to the beach. Sorry
it's
that
like,
it's
okay,
Christmas, but
you're
this
an
is
adult.
something we're okay with. And it's like, they're going to do what they want to do. If you foster the right kind of relationship, they'll take you to the beach with them.
Well, and sometimes this makes me wonder if parents put too much high expectations into who their children are supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
instead of fostering who they are even as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think like that is a big thing. Kids are like, oh, my parents always wanted me to be a doctor, or my
Mm-hmm.
parents always wanted me to do XYZ.
Yeah.
So now you've placed all this external pressure on your child who's like, I honestly don't even ever want to be a doctor. I just want to do art. It's my thing. But they never took the time to just go, okay, what are you good at? Let's foster what you're good at because you are your own person. You're not who I expected you to
It's
be.
interesting through different
Like,
cultures too, where some of them they want their child to be successful on paper, but they don't. And then there's other cultures where like, no, I really want my child to be happy. I just want you to be happy.
well,
And
and maybe it's different because of where I am in life. Like, I feel like a lot of girls that I know who talk about like having
mm-hmm.
kids, it's always like, oh, I can't wait to get my kids into this sport that I really loved. Or I can't wait, and I hope my kids do all these things that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never like, I mean, the reality of it is your kid may hate everything that you ever loved. But it's like,
Yeah.
you have to think like, am I okay with raising a child
Yeah.
that is never going to be who I imagined them to be before they were here?
Yeah. Yeah, it's odd expectations. Like, I just figure you're not going to know what your kid's going to be into or what they're good at. And you need to foster where
They're their
you
own person.
build on their strengths and not constantly point out their one flaw. Oh, you're not good at math. You're not good at math. You're not good at math. Like, but okay, maybe they're way above average in all these other things. Foster those things. They'll figure out a different way to do math. Make out a calculator. It's going to be fine.
Nowadays, it ain't that serious.
It's going to be okay.
I mean,
or they'll hire someone to do math for them. It's not necessary. It's not.
Look at them. They're an entrepreneur.
Look at that.
They know how to delegate tasks.
Exactly.
That's a
Little girls, they said,
thing.
who like to delegate all that stuff become very good leaders and managers in the future. Which I know I used to do that. I used to make my brothers do school.
I made Blake do that. Sorry, I made my brother do that. He's like, I don't like this game anymore. I'm like, sit down and do your homework.
You used to
like,
line up all your My Little Ponies and make them like get checkups or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know. They were getting checkups. I don't know what else you're supposed to do with them. I was like, It's Doctor Day. Ladies and gentlemen, get in line.
Well, let's go back.
I was just a dictator. I don't know.
Let's go back. You mentioned it, and I know we talked about it before, the letters. So a lot of us get a point where we get really frustrated, especially with a toxic mother, that we want to write them a letter. We kind of want a well thought, put together thing, because they don't let you ever get your whole words out. What they happen is they start getting in there and twisting it, and then you get all upset and frazzled, and you can't even get through the whole thing. And then by the end, we have a new topic, right? And we have 3 more things we're mad about.
Right.
So I think it's healing and good to write a letter, but you have to have a correct expectation about what's going to happen when they receive it. You are not going to get a response that is made with logic. Your response is going to be defensive and poor memory, and I don't remember it that way. And they're going to downplay it, and they're going to say you're being sensitive.
Yeah.
And that's normal. You have to think of it like this is just a first step. And they want to be right a lot of the time. They don't want to know your side. They just want to be right. And so you have to realize the letter is not always going to be productive. But if it made you feel better to say your piece, say your piece. But don't expect a really logical, calm reply back. And also, maybe I actually sent one of those once and said, please don't reply to this for a couple weeks. Like, I want you to digest this for a long time before we discuss it.
Yeah.
I
think that was reasonable, honestly, to put that in there. Like, hey, I don't need a response, honestly.
Yeah, because that's not what you're going to get.
To take some time.
You're not going to get this, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you felt that way, or I didn't realize I was doing that. That's not what's going to happen.
I never could
from a toxic person.
That's not what I did.
So just have that in your mindset in advance, because that's just not what's going to happen. And then you won't be even more upset and also thinking, oh, I didn't say it right. No, it's not. They don't want to understand you, because what you're asking is for them to be uncomfortable. You're asking them to look at themselves, and they don't want to.
Well, you're holding up the mirror that shows them all their flaws. And that's one of the steps in healing in any toxic relationship whatsoever is the people who are healed are the mirrors who hold up like, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And here's all of your flaws. And it's scary. I mean, no one wants all of their flaws like picked and prodded and shown to them.
Yeah, I mean, they're not always ready, but what sometimes gets them ready is realizing you're not going to be in their life anymore. And sometimes that is the only thing that works. And you may first get a couple months of really horrible text messages before that starts to work. And what you have to very, very strongly do is become very resolved. You're not loud. You're not matching energy, because that is also toxic. You are resolved, and you are strong, and you are calm, because people that start attacking you and being, I don't know, pot stirrers, they expect the dopamine hit of you guys getting into an argument every time. So you're not going to give it to them. And when they say, oh, you've changed, take that as a compliment. Good. Because it means you've grown. It means they can't manipulate you anymore. You don't have to stay loyal. You don't have to stay the same. You can grow and you can change. And you don't have to fit into the narrative that they have created about you so that they can stay the same. Because a lot of them will back off before they're going to face something and actually change or acknowledge that their behavior is hurtful. Yeah.
I also think toxic families, though, it's those things are going to unravel a family of having one black sheep who is going to do the work to not continue the trauma. Mm-hmm. And so if everybody else starts, one by one going, oh, yeah, that wasn't right. Or, I think that person might have been right, that what we do is fucked up.
Yeah.
we have to be able to recognize that it might feel lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And being a little bit alone because you set boundaries and you're not going to put up with it. You're stoic. You're not feeding the flames of any of the toxicity from whatever family members or friends. It's like,
Yeah.
it is a slightly lonely, but honestly, it's such a short period of loneliness where you'll find better people, if anything, who are going to be better role models or better
Yeah.
friends than anyone else
You
would
know, the
have
more
been.
you start talking about it and being honest about it, you're going to realize that you know a lot of people that are in no contact or don't really, they're not close with their family because of their behavior. You know, and it's just, you have to do the healthy thing when there's growth, like, and what's best for yourself. You just can't
Yeah.
always stay. I mean, if you want to stay, stay, but be okay with your decision to do that and maybe limit their interactions in your life. Maybe you don't tell them personal things, as you said. You see if you can
Yeah.
make adjustments. You know, I call it like one of the things you have to learn how to do is to gray rock. Have you ever heard that term? So gray rocking is
Mm-mm.
like not taking the bait. So if they say something to you or you say something and they're trying to, oh, well, they say something nasty to you, you'd say, I understand why you think that. You know, I mean, it's like it's
Oh,
positive
yeah.
and you're agreeing with them, and they're like, it's also mean if you think about it. Oh, I know why you said that.
I love
And then you could say,
I love those
yeah, I
responses.
know.
It's like,
They could say, like, oh my gosh, I would never wear a dress like that. Yeah, I know.
I know why you
No,
wouldn't.
just, yeah, I know. I know you wouldn't. Like, but yeah, I know. And then just like, I know you like to say, that's an interesting thing to say. And the thing is, you
Interesting. That
staying
sounds like an
calm and
inside thought.
quiet, and the gray rocking is what it does is it like when you're not getting triggered, now they are having to start, they're starting to see what they're doing. They're starting to see what they're saying. Like they're, wait, she didn't react like I thought she would. She didn't react like a person's supposed to when I needle them.
You know what my favorite thing though is always like when they're rage baiting you in that sense. When you say the gray rocking, I was just thinking, oh, they're just rage baiting you. But
Well,
um one it like is always staying like really calm, but then when they say something that's really messed up, you just go, can you repeat that?
or you say it back really
And just like,
slowly and say, can you say that again?
hmm. Or a second
I,
one is,
what? The
can you
what?
explain how that's funny? Like, because you know, there was a lot of
It's
like
just a
passing
joke.
jokes. And then I just go, can you explain how it's funny?
How is that funny? You're just being
Huh.
sensitive. It's just a joke.
I, I just didn't understand how it was funny.
Yes, I mean,
Those things that make them having to re-say it, because the first time it's confidence, the second time they're going to waver if it's something wrong. And so in their brain, they're going, oh, I didn't think that one through.
well, you do have to remember, first of all, that narcissism is an extreme shame disorder. So they're trying to look so big and so pompous and so strong and so powerful and so much better than everyone else because they feel so inadequate and so shameful inside. And by replying like that, now you instantly like took one of those chip of paints off where they're off their exterior. They get frustrated, they'll walk away.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to start like listening to these things and realizing you're not going to take it personally. It's more of like, I'm gathering information about you.
Hmm.
Oh, hmm, that's a
Interesting.
really interesting thought that you're having.
Hmm.
So if you
When
look at
you
it
learn
that way,
to,
it helps yourself first of all. You know, someone saying, "Oh, well, you're so stupid." You don't feel like you're stupid. You're looking at them thinking, "Wonder why they had to say I was stupid right now." Like you get to that
yeah,
point where now you're removed. Your emotions are detached. They can't hurt you in that way. You watch them like with pity and say, "Okay, what is
hmm,
she telling me about herself today?" And
yeah,
they're going to be
I
behind
think,
you in their healing. So like you're going to be like waiting because you're going to have got there before they did, which is going to feel crazy backwards
Yeah.
as they're the adult.
It's all of their own insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
That's like really all it is. Any of those toxic people who are trying to push something on you that's like, oh, you're stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't make enough money. It's like, oh, I think you're just more insecure about the things that maybe you think you're stupid.
Yeah.
And you're worried that I'm smarter than you.
I think
Or
some people
you're
are
actually
uncomfortable with their kid growing up and being smarter and doing better than them, but because they feel like it puts the spotlight on the fact that they didn't do that for themselves.
I think it puts the spotlight for themselves on it. But what's interesting to me is I would think as a parent, you would have so much pride that your kids have done more by like whatever age they are than you have.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like you pushed them in some way, shape, or form that made them want to, work hard. My mom told me that I could do anything that I ever wanted to do. And honestly, she's not wrong. Very little times is she wrong, but it's like, she put those little values in me that has always pushed me to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you didn't realize it, but
I was trying.
whoopsies, you're just for a good mom. I don't know.
Thank
It's
you.
weird
Thank
how
you. I
that
appreciate
helps.
that. Need to hear that every once in a while by the way.
Oh my gosh. That's the other thing. I mean, that might have nothing to do with this, but I think it's important to always be complimenting people that you do love and appreciate for the things that they do, because they may be going through something where their mom hasn't told them that they're proud of them, or they have any problem going on, and it's like, you know, you don't realize how many things like your actions or your words can influence somebody for so long. I listened to another podcast where somebody was reading like a Reddit thread that was basically like, tell me a time of when you were a kid that you still think about today. And all of them were like, you know, I was left out and somebody came and just started talking to me. And, we're not friends, but that really like stuck with me. Or they complimented my smile when I've always hated my smile and I still think about them to this day. It's like, be what you want out there. Someone else might be struggling too. And be that support person that someone else might not have. Like, hey, I'm so proud of you for how hard you've been working. Like, good for you.
One of my girlfriends told me she was
But they
proud
might
of
just
me
need
the
to
other
hear
day,
it.
and I was like, thank you.
And you're still thinking about it because
I needed to hear it.
it's like,
I mean, well, I like need it. It was really nice to.
it stuck with
Been
you. It
working my booty
resonated
off.
of like, you wanted to hear
Yeah,
it.
I was like, wow, thank you, appreciate that, because I would never
So
get
we
that
should be.
from like where I was at, when I was younger, and you have to remember that a lot of young girls are still really, really struggling. They don't have a mom. They don't have someone they can call. I saw a
Even if they do,
girl.
it's like,
Oh, I saw a girl the other day on TikTok crying about how she just wished she had a mom. She was like just moved out and trying to get an apartment. She had no one she could call, and all these women were just coming to her rescue in her comments, and it was so cool. Like, I loved it. All of us moms were like, "What do you need? Where do you live? And like, do you want to call me? Like, what's wrong? Do you need advice?" I was like,
I mean, and maybe this is for anybody, but it's like, especially if you're a mom, you do this, but I feel like other women who might not recognize it because they do have good relationships with their kids is like their friends or other young women that you meet, like, just if you want to give them a compliment, like, wow, you work so hard doing this, like, you might not even know them, but you're giving them that little bit of like, okay, someone's seeing what I'm doing, proud of me. Like, and those things do really stick.
Yeah, you don't always know if you're right on the right track when you're on your own. Your confidence is still being built, and definitely you can give that to someone. And you also just have to remember that an adult that does not want to take accountability does not give good advice. And so you have been probably really struggling in the sense of not getting good advice. And then that's really hard when you're trying to launch and live on your own and get a job and a career, and they give you terrible advice, or they don't stand up for you when you're maybe in a little abusive situation. There's a lot of male focused women of the mothering generation that they have a really hard time like standing up to men that are doing something wrong, even if it's like their daughter's boyfriend, but even their own husband, their son. They don't want to call them out or do something about it. You may end up getting terrible advice from somebody who wants you to just not rock the boat because it's uncomfortable for them.
But they're not taking into account this other person's feelings, and they're like, no, I need the boat rocked. If anything, I need the boat to crash. And
That's what capsized the boat.
Like, we need a capsize. I don't know. This is just.
Well, I mean, that's. I'm not saying it can't be better, but a lot of times these people never really change. And the only way you can change it is by absolutely removing yourself, because that is the only opportunity for them to kind of have a wake-up call about their behavior.
Yeah. I also think it's appropriate, to set, like you said earlier, is like, yes, you can remove yourself without saying anything, and they may recognize it, or they might not, because they are self-absorbed in whatever is going on in their life. So that's going to be something that you have to like decide. Are you okay with just removing yourself? And they may never even recognize that you're kind of like out of their life and you don't tell them anything. Mm-hmm. Or do you need to send that letter, but expect that nothing good will come out of it, but at least you've said your piece?
Yeah.
So that when you do take your step back, you go, well, now it's like balls in your court. Think about it, digest it.
Yeah.
But also, you have to be comfortable with that. They may never digest it. They might just throw it back out.
And then there's some things that you're just going to realize, like if you're talking about a woman who's my age, or like me looking at someone who's 80, when somebody's had a full long life of doing things the same way, it can be very hard for them to change. I grew up in a hyper religious environment that was really difficult for me. I didn't really agree with a lot of their stuff. And I wasn't allowed to question it. I wasn't allowed to have an opinion. And so I was always told that I had a bad attitude problem, that I was a back talker and I was rude and I was disrespectful. But I was so frustrated because I wasn't allowed to have a voice. And they did not like that I wanted to have a voice. But yet here I am. My voice is my gift. I've always been a writer. I've always been an artist. I've always had my voice. And they were scared of that. And they called me Mandy the Mouse as an insult to try to hurt how I felt about it, or to try to get me to be quiet. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start embracing that.
Hey, it's good to have a good mouth on you in all the ways, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm like, does this scare you? Mandy the Mouse has a microphone.
Oh no. She's got a gun.
Yeah, but it's like, that was my gift, but that made them uncomfortable. Because when you go against something that someone who is in their 40s and 50s, who've lived their life a certain way, and there's those kind of people that are, say, for example, scared of burning in hell in one way or another, they're very fearful of this, and they even label you like, oh, she must have a demon. Because I don't see it the same way that you do. Maybe I don't even interpret your book the same way that you do. And that's a hard place.
The Holy Bible.
The Holy Bible. I saw that video. It was hilarious.
The Holy Bible. Very interesting story.
I have questions. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of a great way to say, how can you handle people like that? But I would say it's more from not engaging, because you're not going to all of a sudden necessarily change their mind. That would be really difficult. you're going to probably have to be very tactical about that, about what might work. Well, let's wrap this up. Hey guys, please go check me out on Substack. I've been writing some articles for you and starting some of this kind of content on a subscription plan. It's super cheap. But if this would interest you, please check it out. I would love to have you follow me and create a community over there where we can converse a little bit. Thank you guys for listening. This is Matriarch Alchemy.